And another thing about Klay, I remember interviewing him. I was like, yo, what's your role? We were talking about roles. And he was like, I D up and I get buckets. Simple man.
That's true.
He gets it. He knows what he's out there to do.
It's true.
I'm ready to return to playing. I miss hoop, man, every freaking day. See, I would play basketball in my spare time anyway. So to be without it for 2 years has been pretty whack. But hey, I've been grinding to get back to who I was. And it's going to be a beautiful thing when I do.
Alright, so who's ready to go see Steph Curry and Klay Thompson go back to the Western Conference Finals this season? Because I know I am. Now, I know to a lot of y'all, that may seem like a complete stretch. And to the other half who actually know basketball, you know, you can see it, you can understand it. But to those who don't see it, who aren't believers, who are going to bring up the fact that the Warriors were the AC last season, that they lost in the play-in tournament, couldn't make the playoffs, they had like a record of 39-33. There's no way that they can go from a team not making the playoffs back into the title contention. But this is where I step in. This is where I come in to let you know why you're wrong. And how the Warriors are going to go back to a top team in the Western Conference, if they stay healthy, of course. And I believe that they should at least be a team that can make it past the second round. In fact, I would say that the Warriors are talented enough and are well coached enough, and I think deep enough with enough potential that anything outside of a second round berth is a complete failure this season if they stay healthy. So let's talk about that. So obviously, as previously mentioned, the Golden State Warriors did finish last season with a record of 39-33, missing out on the playoffs due to the loss in the play-ins. However, that end results doesn't tell the full story of the Golden State Warriors season. Prior to the season, the Golden State Warriors obviously lost Klay Thompson right out the draft, which was devastating to their team and devastating to pretty much their expectations of what they could be. Prior to this, the Warriors were also still integrating Andrew Wiggins into their system, hoping to develop him and make him reach his full potential. And then to mitigate the loss of Klay Thompson, the Golden State Warriors added Kelly Oubre. So obviously you're adding some new pieces, new guys into the mix to replace a huge loss that you did not see coming. Still, even with this, the Warriors went on to the season expecting to make the playoffs for most logical people. And they did get off to a shaky start, getting blown out in 2 nationally televised games by the Bucks and Nets. But these are 2 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't think you can really blame the Warriors for losing, especially since Steph Curry was coming back from virtually a season where he missed the entire season, still getting his shooting legs underneath him. However, due to these embarrassing losses on national television, most people were started to write the Warriors off, slandering them and slandering Steph Curry and questioning his legacy. So, how did Steph Curry respond? By having one of the greatest seasons of his entire career and of a point guard, just period. Steph Curry would go on to finish top 3 in MVP voting, leading the league in scoring, while damn near shooting 50, 40, 90. In fact, Steph Curry would go on to average 32 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists. Steph Curry, in his unanimous MVP season, would average 30 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 6.7 assists. Steph Curry put up numbers that were incredibly similar to the season in which he won the MVP by freaking unanimous decision. So safe to say, Steph Curry had an incredible season. In fact, Steph Curry this season went 38-25, which was a winning percentage of 60%, and would have got the Warriors 5th seed in the Western Conference. However, obviously the Warriors did not finish with the 5th seed. They finished 8th with a record of 39-33. So how did that happen? Well, you see, Steph Curry having to put a huge offensive load on his shoulders would get dinged up and injured and miss a couple games. Steph Curry, in fact, missed 9 games this season, in which the Warriors went 1-8 without him, getting blown out by the god-awful Toronto Raptors by 50 points at one time. Steph Curry would return, but would have to play the remainder of the season with a fractured tailbone, and he still lit the fuck up out of the league. Nonetheless, this would greatly impact the Warriors' season and tank them down in the highly competitive Western Conference, forcing them to play in the play-ins, in which they would lose. But as we can see, the Warriors with Steph Curry alone were good enough to be a top 5 seed in the Western Conference and avoid the play. What the fuck was that? So basically what I'm trying to say is, if Steph Curry played this whole entire season, the Warriors probably don't have to play in the play-ins. And we don't have this discussion of, oh my god, how did the Warriors not make the playoffs? Steph Curry couldn't carry a team. Because Steph Curry was carrying that team. So the biggest weaknesses from the Warriors last season were the lack of scoring options outside of Steph Curry and the depth, particularly at that backup point guard spot, because they had Brad Wanamaker there. And they literally just gave him away. I think they just got cash for him. Yeah, he was pretty bad. The Warriors now loaded with a couple of draft picks, a little bit of cap space that they can maneuver with, and the returns of some key people back from injuries. How did the Warriors do this offseason to address their weaknesses? Well, through the draft, they drafted Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. While Jonathan Kuminga is a project player and doesn't seem likely to have a huge role in this upcoming season, especially in the playoff time, he does bring them a little bit of change of pace as a backup 4 and a backup center in some small ball lineups with his athleticism and size and his ability to go coast to coast. However, it's the lack of a jump shot that will probably put a cap on his minutes. So you could probably see him play anywhere from around 10 to 14 minutes in the regular season while being completely out of the rotation come playoff time. However, Moses Moody, that's a little bit of a different story. He's a little bit of an older player, staying to college a little bit longer, and with a more developed skill set, but with a lower ceiling. However, it is the skill set that makes him highly valuable to the Warriors, as he projects to be a 3-and-D player. He always showed good defense back in college with a beautiful jump shot. So as long as that jump shot translates, you can see him be a huge factor into this upcoming season for the Warriors, giving them some help and some depth. Now through free agency, the Warriors pretty much made 3 moves. They signed Otto Porter Jr. for the minimum contract, signed Bielitsa, and of course, the one and only man who can save us from the Martians, Andre Iguodala. Now, how these guys help them this season? Bielitsa projects to be nothing much more than a stretch 4 with some good passing. Probably not going to be a major factor. Will more than likely be completely out of the rotation come playoff time. Andre Iguodala, great veteran presence. He's going to severely help that locker room. Kind of similar to Jared Dudley, but a guy that will actually play. Of course, he has the fast hands, knows the system well, knows how to screen, has great chemistry with the Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. So the minutes he plays, he should be affected by. Probably won't see too many minutes due to his body pretty much breaking down on him, but he will have a role come playoff time. He's going to be a huge factor. He can also play some backup point guard, which he has done for the Warriors in the past. In fact, he even started in the playoffs when Steph Curry got injured back in, I believe, 2018. But Otto Porter, he's the real crown jewel of the Warriors offseason. They were able to sign him for a veteran minimum contract. He turned down other offers to sign with the Golden State Warriors. He's a career 40% shooter. He has great size, great athleticism, and a versatile defender. However, the major problem with Otto Porter Jr. is he gets injured a lot. And when he's kind of coming in to back up a guy coming off a major injury, you don't really like that. But if he can stay healthy, he's going to make a world of difference. He's going to add another shooter to the floor and another defender, which will prevent Steph Curry from being double teamed and triple teamed and quadruple teamed as the fucking Suns did. Pretty much prevents that since he can space the floor. He will be another knockdown shooter, putting teams in a rock and a hard place when they decide to send extra help at Steph Curry and mitigating some of that spacing that Draymond fucks over. But we all know the main reason the Warriors are confident in their ability to go back to title contention is the return of the Splash Bro, Killer Klay. Obviously, what's there to say about Klay Thompson? One of the greatest shooters of all time, a catch and shoot specialist, elite off-ball player, and a perfect fit next to Steph Curry. However, we can't say all this without acknowledging the fact that yes, he's coming off an ACL tear, and yes, he is coming off an Achilles tear. 2 major injuries that saw him miss the last 2 seasons. Now, an ACL tear, we have seen plenty of players come back from that. It is the Achilles that's a little bit more intimidating, but we have seen Rudy Gay and Kevin Durant come back pretty well from an ACL tear. In fact, Rudy Gay came back an even better shooter. and we've seen KD has not missed a fucking step. And this does bode well for a guy like Klay Thompson, who does not rely on his athleticism, just his pure shooting stroke. So if he's able to come back pretty much the same offensively, that's going to be a huge W for the Warriors, even if he loses a step on defense. Because again, the Warriors without Klay Thompson did rank top 5 in defensive efficiency. So as long as Klay Thompson isn't a complete liability defensively, the Warriors should be able to mitigate that loss of his defensive skills. But if you are the Warriors, you obviously hope that he's still at least a good defender. And of course, for the reasons that Otto Porter Jr. is an effective signing, Klay Thompson is too. Since him being there pretty much means that no defender on Klay can leave to double team Steph Curry. Otherwise, you're giving up an open shot to the second greatest shooter of all time. And his constant gravity along with Steph Curry's makes it so that people like Draymond Green and Kevon Looney can have easy cuts and rolls to the basket and get wide open dunks, opening up a whole new world for the Golden State Warriors offense versus last season where it was pretty much, yo, let's see if we can get Steph just a little bit open so he can carry us to a W. But Klay Thompson is not the only Warrior returning from injury. You are getting back James Wiseman, the number 2 overall pick. Now, a lot of people were down on James Wiseman for his previous season. I know it wasn't world blazing, especially in comparison to Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. But you do have to understand that James Wiseman, previous to that season, has only played 3 games, and that was back in high school. So now he as a center is jumping up with the big boys. He's going against other 7-footers, grown-ass men who outweigh him and are way stronger, playing for the Golden State Warriors, a team with actual expectations and a far more complex system that's not going to be built around Wiseman as it was for other rookies. It's built around Steph fucking Curry. So, it's constant moving, constant cutting. You have to know where to screen for him. You have to get chemistry with him. So obviously for a rookie, this is a huge task. And while he wasn't the best, he wasn't terrible. He did show flashes. He did show flashes of skill sets, ability to go coast to coast. He even showed a bit of a jump shot, which was all impressive for the Golden State Warriors. So the main thing with James Wiseman, though, is he has to get down the mental aspect of it and add some strength, of course. Because we saw Kevon Looney step into his role and the Warriors start to thrive. And there's no worlds in which you convince me Kevon Looney is a more talented player than James Wiseman. It's just that Kevon Looney knows the system, he knows how to set these screens, and he has more weight to him as he had more time to fill out. So if Wiseman can just sit there and pick the brain of Kevon Looney and get some of these qualities that he has, which I don't envision to be really that hard unless you think Kevon Looney is just a significantly better and more talented player than Wiseman, I don't see this being outworldly. Because if he can get these little aspects down, these other kind of nuances for the game, he brings a whole nother threat to the Warriors that Kevon Looney can never have. The ability to go coast to coast, the ability to go like a vertical lob threat, as Steve Kerr calls it, vertical spacing. And if he continues this development, the ability to have actual spacing with Kevon Looney being able to, James Wiseman being able to hit these corner threes and outside jumpers, and the ability of a little bit of a post game. He brings pretty much all the aspects of previous Warrior centers from Zaza Pachulia, James Wiseman, and the shooting of a DeMarcus Cousins. He brings it all into one package. So if he can add all these aspects up, he could really be he could change the Warriors from a potential second round team to a team maybe fighting for the Western Conference to a team really looking at a shot to, hey, we may be able to get to that damn finals. It's a tall task, but Wiseman, I would say, is the Warriors' major X factor outside of Klay Thompson to seeing how good this team can be if he can get that mental aspect of the game down. And you also have to consider that Kawhi Leonard is likely going to miss a majority of the season coming back from his own ACL injury. So the Warriors should have some time to get some ground over the Los Angeles Clippers. Also with the Mavs pretty much having no sense of direction, hiring Jason fucking Kidd of all people, a guy who failed at coach at 2 separate locations. The Warriors should have a chance to kind of push themselves into that race to being one of the top seeds out west. And with their playoff experience, they could go down to the Western Conference Finals, maybe even to the finals themselves. However, that's pretty much all I have to say on the topic. I look forward to looking to this next season. And if you are a fan of the Skrubs, we do have some more videos coming out. Some more of the basketball videos that I know you guys love. So just keep an eye out for those. As always, this is Greg signing out. Also, follow my Instagram.